Yo, what's going on, everyone? So recently, there's been a lot of talk about a PlayStation 4.5 coming out this year, or as some may know it as a PlayStation 4K. Now, I wanted to give my insight on this and what this device will be and what it will do. So, for starters, this PlayStation will do every single game at 1080p, 60 FPS, with potentially the graphics maxed out all the way, similar to a 970 graphics card on PC. Now, I think this is a good kind of reference point, relating it to a 970, because a 970 is about $350, and if you look at Sony is working with AMD, they're not paying retail price for a graphics card. They're going to be paying, what AMD causes at the source. So, a lot of talk saying it's going to be a 4K device. It will not. It will upscale every game to 4K, which makes sense because if you have every game running at 1080p, then you can just upscale, double the resolution in each direction to get 4 times the resolution. It's an easier upscale than, let's say, 900p. Now, a $400 PlayStation also will not have enough horsepower to run a 4K game unless it's something like an indie game. Whereas, we have $2,000 gaming computers that with, a GTX 980 Ti that can't even run 4K at 60 FPS. Well, unless you turn the settings down to medium, but why would you want to turn the settings down to medium if you're going to play at 4K anyways? So, it will not have native 4K games, but rather upscaled 4K games. Now, what we don't know is whether it will have a Blu-ray player or not, if they're going to go full digital or if they're going to stick with physical media. I think it will have a 4K Blu-ray player. And a lot of this, I think, has to do with Sony trying to push the sales of their TVs. So their new 4K TVs, their HDR sets, all that. I think they want to release the PlayStation 4K as their 4K Blu-ray player and help drive the sales of their 4K TVs because, as we all know, PlayStation is really the only brand of Sony products that is doing well. That's why they separated PlayStation from the rest of Sony. So they could be using this new PlayStation as a device to help try and boost the rest of their sales of their products. And it'll do things like 4K movie streaming, so they're going to have 4K movies and TV shows available from them that you can buy and rent on your PlayStation to stream. But it'll also do things like 4K Netflix. If Hulu has 4K, they'll support that, all that stuff. What we don't know also is how much it'll cost, if it'll come with an SSD, what type of memory it's going to use, if it's going to use new HBM or if it's going to stick with GDDR5. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties. I suspect it'll probably stick with GDDR5 since it's cheaper, and as I'm pretty sure HBM is limited to 4 gigabytes right now. But personally, I think if they just waited an extra year, they could release a more powerful console compared to the PlayStation 4, because it's been 2.5 years since the PlayStation 4 came out, so I don't know. HBM is going to be a huge upgrade for RAM technology with graphics cards, and if they just waited a year for HBM to become more available and for it not to be limited at 4 gigabytes, it could be a drastic improvement rather than just slapping a beefier card and processor in there instead. Even though they don't use real GPUs, they use APUs, but still, you guys get the idea. So, there's a lot of questions. Maybe Sony's just trying to ride off the momentum of their PlayStation 4. Maybe sell the PlayStation 4 at a discounted price, So, I don't know. My theory behind them, both Sony and Microsoft underpowering the current consoles, is because the economies haven't really been all that strong. So, who knows if the dollar was going to crash again? People have been tight on money. So if they released a, let's say, underpowered console, it was easier for them to drop the price of those faster. And I mean, we've seen that Sony and Microsoft are both selling these consoles at record paces, and I believe a lot of that has to do with them dropping the prices drastically. I mean, you can get a PlayStation with a game on a Black Friday, which is when I got mine in November 2015, for $300. I mean, that's just unheard of with when we had the PS3 and the Xbox 360. So, I think they're kind of moving towards this incremental upgrades for consoles, maybe every 3 to 4 years, because I think it helps with their profits, and I think it helps with driving prices down so the consumers can get their hands on these products faster than before. I mean, people would wait 4 years maybe to buy a PS3 because it was a $600 device when it first came out, whereas you can get a PlayStation 3 now, or a PlayStation 4, sorry, for $300 today, and it's been 2.5 years. I mean, even 2 years you can get one for $300. So I don't know. Another big focus with this console is going to be VR. So PlayStation VR is coming out this year. I think it's October, November. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. It's going to be $400. So the PlayStation 4, I'm pretty surprised that they got VR to work on it, to be honest. But maybe this new console will help even more with frame rates, since I know Sony is not even allowing games that drop below 60 to run on PlayStation VR, so good for them. But VR needs the frame rates. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Console generations are changing, but I kind of expected this. I didn't expect a console to be out or to be talking about it in 2.5 years. Maybe I was thinking 4 years, 2017, at the latest 2018, but not 2016. I still think that it would be better for them to release it next year, but if they are trying to push the sales of their TVs to try and spark that side of their product line, then I could see that as well. Anyways, SSD. I think they should do an SSD. It helps a lot with load times, but then again, you can put an SSD yourself in a PlayStation 4, so maybe they're going to stick to that route, throw in like a terabyte or two hard drive, and then that'll help keep the cost down as well. So I wouldn't expect them to price it more than $400. If it's got a 4K Blu-ray player, maybe $500 at the most, but I highly doubt it. I think it's gonna be $400. Even if it has a 4K Blu-ray player, they're gonna eat the cost of it. So, because I mean, they don't have a 4K Blu-ray player out yet. So if they could sell a PlayStation 4K as a 4K Blu-ray player, that would be a pretty good idea, since that's what they did with the original PlayStation 3. They sold it half the cost of their Blu-ray players when they first released, and people bought those instead of buying the actual Blu-ray player. So yeah, that's about it. There's a lot of talk about it. Just keep in mind, it's not going to run native 4K games. Don't think that. It's a $400 device. It's a small device as well. It generates a lot of heat. I mean, I have a 980 Ti in my computer, and I run games at like Tomb Raider. I run it at like 40 FPS, 30 FPS in 4K. And The Division, I mean, I run that at 1440p with 40 FPS. So these games are demanding, and you can't just expect a $400 device to run native 4K resolutions. I mean, I think 1080p 60 is a good benchmark for them, and also to try and run these games that the developers are creating running max settings like a PC. So I mean, yeah. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more information about the PlayStation 4K and the potential Xbox 1.5, whatever they're going to call it, the expandable Xbox, stay tuned, and I'll try and keep some videos coming. Thanks.